Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host this week. My name is Morgan. I hope you are having a wonderful day. And with me, as always, is my true crime partner. It's the lovely Cherry. Hello, Cherry. How are you?
Oh, we had a little rest last week because it was Mother's Day. So I convinced Morgan to let me have the week off. And so we're back this week, ready to go.
It did not take too much convincing. I was not going to have you work on Mother's Day.
A crazy busy week last week. And so, we ran out of time. And so it was busy. So, happy Mother's Day to all you mamas out there. And we hope you had a lovely Mother's Day. And we're back now for your true crime earbuds.
We are. I don't think we have too much in the way of news. We do have a new Patreon to thank.
I feel like I need some sort of like woo! Some sort of something to welcome new patrons, like a fanfare of some sort. I'm going to devise one for the future episodes. So yes, we do have a very, very lovely new Patreon. She's absolutely nuts, and we'll be seeing her at CrimeCon this year. It's the lovely Karen. So, yay,
welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining.
Yes. Thank you to all our patrons for supporting us. We really, really do appreciate your support, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much for believing in our little show.
And as always, if you want to join our Patreon and give us a little bit of support, you can do so by going to patreon.com/crimepedia, and you can join our little group for as little as, I think it's like, as little as like, what, $1 or $2 a month?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of dollars a month you can do it for. So, you can join us, and then you can hear all our mad off-the-record ramblings that we do and our recipes for lovely food. Top tips for all sorts of stuff. It's not very much.
We always talk about food. Somehow.
It usually turns around to food, doesn't it? It can start at something, but generally it always ends up turning around to something yummy or disgusting.
I know, right?
And it's nearly Easter, so that's also very exciting. Maybe we should give away some Easter eggs. We should have like a giveaway, and we'll give away we'll have 2 prizes, one for our British listeners and one for our American listeners.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's do that. Let's give away some Crimepedia chocolate. We'll give away some goodie bags or something. I love that idea.
Yeah, let's
watch out, patrons. You watch out. Got some goodies coming for you.
No, since we don't really have any updates or news to do this week, how about we hop into this week's episode?
Let's go.
On October 28th, 1981, 3 boys made a shocking discovery while playing in a warehouse parking lot. A body lying at the bottom of a ravine. Despite some minor scratches and bruises, the body did not exhibit any evident signs of injury. One of the victim's shoes was discovered on a nearby rock pile, while the other was missing. The victim would later be identified as Kurt Sova, a 17-year-old who had been reported missing only 5 days prior. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance and his death remain unclear, leaving unanswered questions as to what happened during those 5 days. This is Crimepedia, and this is The Mysterious Death of Kurt Sova. All right, Cherry. Kurt Eugene Sova was born on July 15th, 1964 in Cleveland, Ohio, the fourth of Kenneth and Dorothy Sova's children. Kurt grew up in the Cleveland suburb of Newburgh Heights, where he was adored by his family and well-liked by his friends. His parents described him as being a well-behaved, respectful, and well-mannered kid who rarely got into trouble. Kurt would respect his curfew and would tell his parents anytime he thought he would be out later than expected. But like a lot of teenagers, Kurt had a side to him that he kept hidden from his parents.
Yeah.
Kurt was known to often drink alcohol and smoke marijuana with his friends on weekends. just not.
I was gonna say it's
too
not
surprising.
so bad, is it? I mean, that's
It's
like
not.
It's not crazy, it's not. That's not really bad.
It's not, but of course, like when you're 17, 18, even now, like
obviously we don't recommend it, but
don't.
It's not bad.
It's not the worst thing that a kid could do. And
exactly.
Let's be completely honest. We've all been teenagers. We've all done things where
that you wouldn't tell your parents.
That's
we
don't want to tell
right.
our parents.
Of course.
Now, on Friday, October 23rd, 1981, Kurt had reportedly skipped school and hung out near a local liquor store until he was able to convince someone to buy him a fifth of 190 proof Everclear. Okay?
What is that?
It is a grain alcohol. It's a very
potent.
High level. Yeah, I mean, it's 190 proof, so we're talking, what is that? That's 95% alcohol.
Oh my God.
It's almost it's.
What, you can just get that in normal shops?
Not anymore.
Right.
So you can't buy it in Ohio anymore.
No.
So it's illegal to buy in the state of Ohio now.
Yeah. Well, why would you want to drink that? Because it must taste awful. It must be like drinking petrol.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Ugh, yeah.
Like people, when I was in college, I would have friends that would buy it from out of state. So you'd be able to buy it, say, in like Kentucky or Indiana.
Okay.
And they would use it as like for
paint stripper.
A paint stripper, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the time it would be called like we would call it jungle juice, right? So it'd be you'd use it as the main alcohol in like a fruity type drink.
Oh,
so
like a punch or something.
Yeah. So you'd mix it into a punch. So that's what it was used for.
Right.
I didn't know anyone who would drink it just straight.
No.
It's insane.
Most of those parties that you go to where they make those punches, though, they don't taste good, do they? They only taste all right after you've had a few. Because as soon as you start drinking them, they're awful. But when you've had a few, they start to taste a bit better. So nobody ever really likes the punch at parties. It's just one of those things that just gets you drunk.
I would say for anyone, 190 proof Everclear is more than anyone could possibly need.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. It doesn't sound good.
No, it is not good. So Kurt would end up spending the afternoon drinking at his girlfriend's house before heading to a Halloween carnival that was happening in that evening.
Mm.
On the way to a carnival, about a block from his house, Kurt would run into one of his friends, a guy named Samuel Carroll, who was actually heading to a Halloween party at the home of Debbie Sams and her brother Clayton. Okay. Now, the Sams and another female roommate rented the upstairs of a duplex located on Harvard Avenue in Newburgh Heights.
Okay, so for our English listeners, a duplex is a bit like a maisonette. It's a bit like kind of like a one-story building or a one building that's kind of split up into two residences. So kind of like flats, one above the other. I would think of it as like a London flat where you've got your downstairs tenant and then your upstairs tenant.
Yeah. Now, so it's a multifamily home. Now, duplexes in the United States, they come in multiple fashions. A lot of times when you hear duplex, and even in the United States, you imagine one large home that like is almost split in the middle, and you have two homes. This is a little different, where it's actually a downstairs home and then the upstairs. So it's basically two different levels. They're being rented out on. Okay.
We kind of have quite a lot of those in London, the big old townhouses, and they'll split them into two like apartments. Like my friend lived in one in London, and when you went in her house, there was a set of stairs that literally just went to the ceiling, where they had like split the house in half, and you literally walked in her front door, and there was a stairway, and it just literally went to the ceiling. There was nothing, where they had split the house up and just not taken the staircase out.
That's so that's strange.
It was really weird because she literally just used the staircase as storage, just to put shoes on and stuff. It was very strange because it's literally a stairway to nothing.
Like I can imagine. So a lot of times, like with these houses where they're split up, especially like Ohio State, the campus of Ohio State, off-campus housing. A lot of times, you'd have like one communal entrance, and then you'd have, if you lived upstairs, there would be the stairs that would go upstairs. if you live downstairs, there'd be like a wall and like a door that would go into like the
Yeah.
downstairs apartment area.
Yeah.
So I think that's how this house is set up.
Okay.
It appears so because looking at pictures of the house today, there's no like there's no like
separate entrances, is there, for it?
There is not. No. So yeah, and there's no like outdoor like fire escape or stairs on the outside. So I'm imagining you'd go inside and then it'd be kind of broken up into a door to get into the downstairs apartment, then stairs going up to the upstairs.
Right. Okay.
All right. Now, of course, Kurt's drinking would continue at the party, and he began stumbling around, knocking over things, breaking things, which would eventually lead to him getting kicked out of the house. Okay. One of the roommates would ask Samuel Carroll to get Kurt out before he broke anything else. Samuel would then help Kurt down the stairs and to the outside. According to Samuel, the two of them were outside in chilly temperatures. It was about 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 2 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, cold.
So very chilly. And they were outside for about 20 to 30 minutes in just their T-shirts before deciding it was too cold and that they needed their jackets.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a long time to be out.
It is quite a long time, yeah.
Even if you are drunk and you've been drinking alcohol, that is still a long time to be out without jackets.
Just a T-shirt, that's right.
Now, Samuel would leave Kurt by a fence and head back upstairs to get their jackets. When he returned 2 or 3 minutes later, Kurt was gone. Samuel would search the nearby side streets and the parking lot of the J.L. Goodman Furniture Warehouse for Kurt, but saw no signs of him. Now, assuming that Kurt had gone home, Samuel would return to the party. He would later state that he had believed that someone must have given Kurt a ride home because of how quickly Kurt was gone.
I was going to say that because if he's in a state where he's stumbling around inside the house and he's knocking things over, he's obviously in an inebriated state. So he's not going to be walking straight and fast, is he? He's going to be stumbling. No. He's going to be walking slowly. So it would be in my mind that somebody would have picked him up, because otherwise he would still be stumbling down the road by the time he comes back with the jacket. If he was 2 to 3 minutes, that's the thing. If he was only 2 to 3 minutes, then he would obviously still be stumbling around outside.
Yes,
or at least down the road you'd see him, you know.
Exactly. Now, Kurt's mother, Dorothy, had already been out looking for her son since she hadn't seen him since 7:30 that morning.
Oh, wow.
Now, after searching several of Kurt's usual hangouts, Dorothy would return home for the first of several sleepless nights. The following morning, the Sovas would enlist the help of friends and family to search for Kurt, asking anyone and everyone if they had seen him.
Oh.
They would search alleys, ravines, and dumpsters in the area, but they found nothing. Now, that Sunday, Dorothy would file a missing persons report with the Cleveland police. Kurt's older brothers printed up flyers bearing Kurt's photos and information about his disappearance. His face would go up on the walls and doors of stores and on utility poles all over the neighborhood. Now, Dorothy would begin hearing rumors of the Halloween party that happened on Harvard Avenue and that Kurt had been there. Now, after finding the location, Dorothy would visit the duplex seeking information. She would be told that there had been no Halloween party at the house, and Kurt had not been seen that night. Now, suspecting that something more was going on, Dorothy began contacting restaurants in the area, thinking that if there had been a party, that food might have been delivered sometime that night.
Yeah, they might have ordered pizza or something.
Exactly. Now, as luck would have it, Dorothy was able to find a local pizza shop who confirmed that they had made a delivery to the house that night.
Oh.
And that there had been a party going on.
Right. So why would they have reason to lie?
There shouldn't have been any reason to lie.
Well, no, because it's not against the law to have a party. So, I mean, they could just say, yeah, we did have a party here. Yeah, he was here. But, you know, we didn't see him after whatever time. There's nothing illegal unless they're trying to unless they're trying to hide it from their parents or something.
Well, I mean, but they're living on their own, so...
What does it matter?
It shouldn't matter at all.
No, so that's suspicious.
And even if they did have a party, and even if there was kids there under the legal age to drink, I mean,
surely it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah. So once Dorothy went back and confronted them with this information, the residents of the home changed their story and admitted to having a party and seeing Kurt in attendance.
Oh, that's mad, isn't it? Because why lie in the first place? It just makes you look super guilty now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes it look like something's gone on.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. Now, Dorothy was told that more than a dozen people had dropped by that house that night. Some of the party goers were from Detroit and were people who Kurt had never previously met.
Okay.
So so of course there are going to be people there you're not met. Kurt being 17, a lot of the people that did show up were older and from out of the area. Yeah, so of course Kurt didn't know a whole lot of people there.
Yeah.
His plan wasn't even to go to the party. He just happened to run into a friend who was going.
Yeah.
Now, the Sovas were able to recover Kurt's jacket from the home, but they found nothing else that aided them in the search for Kurt. Now, on Monday, so this would have been just 3 days after when the party occurred, the owner of a record shop in Slavic Village. So Slavic Village is a neighboring neighborhood to Newburgh Heights. So it's directly to the east of Newburgh Heights.
Okay.
So the owner of this record shop in Slavic Village, where the family actually did put up a missing person flyer, was approached by a seemingly homeless man who had been hanging around the shop for several weeks. Now, he had been previously bragging about having access to bodies being flown into Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and describing being allowed to remove their shoes. Okay? Now, according to the shop owner, the man pointed to one of the flyers and claimed that they weren't needed because Kurt would be found in 2 days and that the police wouldn't know what happened to him.
That's a bit weird.
That is very weird.
That is.
First off,
hang on. He takes shoes off of bodies that fly into the airport.
Yeah. Yes.
What the hell?
That's weird to begin with.
Well, yeah. He's obviously not of sound mind, though, right?
It doesn't sound like it.
I can't imagine the airport people letting him just go and help himself to deceased people's shoes.
No.
It's not going to happen. You're not going to be getting near. If they're bringing a body in, they're not just going to let some random homeless guy come in and take the shoes off of people. So
no, absolutely not.
No, I mean he might be able to help himself to shoes if they have like shoes left over there, not necessarily from bodies and stuff. But I think that's a bit weird.
Okay, but here's the thing: if first off, why are bodies because that sounds like he said bodies. Why are that many bodies being flown into this airport to begin with? And when you're flying a body, why would they still have their shoes on anyways?
Well, it'd be in a casket, wouldn't they? Yeah, or in a body bag or something. They're not going to go and let you unzip the body bag and have a good old rummage around. That's crazy.
I think that's crazy, but then it's crazy for this guy to be like, no, you don't need that flyer up on the wall because
they're going to find him. Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah, it is very, very strange.
What's the homeless situation? Do we know what the homeless situation there is like? Have they got like a big homeless community or?
Well, in Cleveland, yeah. So, I mean, it's like Cleveland's a large city.
Yeah. So it's just like any city. You haven't got like sometimes in American places, they've got like designated homeless places where the homeless all live in a certain area. So like it'll be that there's lots of cardboard cities and stuff like that. So is it, do they have something like that close to here, or it doesn't look like it from the map views and stuff?
I wouldn't imagine that this area would have a large homeless population. Homeless populations tend to congregate in the urban area, like the urban centers. So like the downtown areas of like Cleveland is where you would see most homeless people. So it would probably stand out for a person who is described as being homeless to be in this particular area.
Because I'm just thinking of like how he would have this information. If I'm just thinking, you know, because in the homeless community, they kind of all know each other. The stuff kind of gets, you know, gossip or information gets spread in between the homeless people. So I'm just trying to think of a reason of why he would be privy to this kind of information. If he did know of what had happened to this kid, how would he know?
Yeah.
I mean, was he attacked by some homeless people? That's what I'm trying to get at. Was he attacked by some homeless people and this guy knows something? That's why I was wondering, like, what's the community like there for homeless people? Because it seems strange that this random homeless guy, if there isn't a big community, it seems strange that this random homeless guy is coming out of all this kind of information. Where has he got this information from? You know, how reliable is it? Or is this just like the ramblings of some drunk homeless guy, you know?
If I was in that situation, this guy came forward and said, yeah, you know, you don't need to do that. They're going to find him. I would probably wave it off as just some crazy guy, right? I mean, I don't think you could take that, you know, something like that seriously.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. It's a strange thing for a random guy to come out with. It's a strange thing to say, they're going to find him in a couple of days. Unless it was just a throwaway comment and he's just going, oh, well, you know, they always find them. You know, they always find missing people or something like that. But it's a strange comment to make.
Especially when they're like, yeah, they're going to find him in a few days anyways, and they're not going to know what happened to him.
See, that's the thing. That's the strange thing. That he said that straight after. If he had just said, they're going to find him in a few days anyway, that could have just been a flippant off-the-cuff comment that he's made. But when they say they're not going to know what's happened to him, that makes you think, well, hang on, how do you know that? Or why have you said that? What's your reason for saying that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very strange comment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I think it'd be, you'd wave it off, but you would kind of have to like keep it keep it in the back of your mind. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Does this guy actually know? Does he actually know anything, or is he just you know, rambling? Because this is the guy who once again was saying, yeah, I have access to these dead bodies that are getting flown into this airport, and I can take their shoes. So you kind of, I mean, you can't put too much into it.
No,
I don't think.
I'd be doing some investigations into that airport if I were police, though, just to see what their procedure is in bringing you know, the deceased people. Where do they store them? Because you might find their shoes have been missing. You know, it might be something he's not allowed to take their shoes off, because I doubt that very much. Right. But has he been taking shoes?
No, it's a good question. Good question. Now, the following day, a resident at the Harvard Avenue duplex would alert the Sovas that someone was sleeping in a cot in the basement, and it could potentially be Kurt.
Oh, okay.
Now, Kurt's father, Ken, who hadn't previously been overly involved in the investigation or the search for him. Let me take that back. And he was involved in the search, but he wasn't as active as Dorothy was. I think he was kind of taking a back seat.
Yeah.
And I kind of see it as being the typical dad thing. Like, oh, he's fine. He'll show back up.
Yeah,
right?
when he's hungry.
Yeah. Come on, mom. She's a mom. He's 17. So that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as him just not caring or
no, of course, no. But it's very different, is it? Mums tend to go, you probably find that mums are not as, if it was a daughter, maybe the dad would be a little bit more, you know, anxious about it, and the mum would be a bit more lax about it. Like, no, she's fine, you know, she's okay. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But with this information, Ken decided to actually take action. So accompanied by Kurt's 3 brothers, Ken hurried to the duplex and entered it by force. So he basically kicked in the door.
Wow.
And began searching the basement for any sign of Kurt. Now, they did not find him anywhere.
Oh.
They did discover a cot that seemed to have been recently occupied.
Okay.
So there was no sign of Kurt there. Nothing that they could really say specifically, yeah, Kurt had 100% been here. But they did find the cot, and it looked like someone had been sleeping there.
So a cot in England or in Britain would be a cot is something a baby sleeps in. So what's a cot over there? Because I'm thinking he's not going to fit in a baby's cot.
No. So like a cot here, like when I think of cot, I think of basically it's like like a camping bed.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be like a aluminum frame that you can like fold out, and it just has like a canvas.
I know what you mean.
Canvas which will support you.
Okay.
So nothing comfortable. It's not really a bed. I mean, it is a bed, but
it's just like off the floor. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what a cot would be.
Right. Okay.
Now, on the same day, 3 boys from the neighborhood were playing in the J.L. Goodman Furniture Warehouse parking lot when they stumbled upon a body in the ravine. Now, this was just 500 yards away from the duplex where the party had been held on Friday night. Now, this location was just a few feet from where Kenneth Sova had searched the previous night. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So this area had been searched. Yes, and it was searched actually the night before the body was found. Okay? Now, authorities would confirm that it was the body of Kurt Sova. Kurt was found lying in shallow water, face up, with a bright yellow t-shirt on, and barefoot. One of his shoes was located nearby, but the other was never recovered. He was found in a cruciform position, okay, with his arms stretched out, one knee slightly bent, and one foot on top of the other. So the cruciform basically looks like
laying on a crucifix. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Which is
so not a natural position.
Unless you're falling.
Unless you're falling.
Because if you fell backwards, if you're intoxicated and you fall, then that's possible that you could fall, like you try and, like I'm thinking like cartoony, like kind of almost you're shaking your arms, falling, and you fall backwards. If you were to hit your head immediately and be knocked out, you would just you'd be how you fell, basically. So that's interesting. Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. But it's interesting to me that he's found somewhere that they've already searched.
Yes.
That's very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. No, this area had been searched multiple times.
I mean, it's not a huge area either. From where the duplex is to where he was found, it's not far away.
500 yards.
Which is not, it's not a lot. It's not a lot if people are out there searching.
No. And to be honest, it's about halfway between where the party was in his house as well.
Yeah.
So not far from his house at all.
No. That's strange.
And knowing where he lived, there really shouldn't have been a reason why he would have even attempted to cross a ravine. He wouldn't have to. Because if he would have,
but if he's
all he
really
had to do was
off
go
his
across
face,
the parking lot.
Yeah. If he's really off his face drunk, he's not going to be thinking like a normal person.
No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
But it's very interesting. It's like he's almost like he's making his way home, kind of thing.
That's what. It does. So it is on the way home.
Yeah, it's on his way home.
And then, I think that's the first thing you think is like, okay, this is how you found him. Oh, he must have been making his way home. He had an accident. He fell, and he succumbed to the injuries, right?
And it was
but
cold.
The fact that it is cold, but the fact that they had searched that area previously, and they had searched the night before, and he wasn't there, makes you question. Like,
it kind of does.
What happened?
It does make you question it. But I'm wondering if this guy was like wandering around. If he was wandering, they're searching the area and didn't see him. They've cleared that area, and then he's got there. Because he's been in another area or something. It makes me because he's in such a state because he's so drunk. I'm wondering if he was like in another area. They've searched the area, and then he's wandered into that area. But the post-mortem will tell us how long he's been dead, so that will give us an idea of the time of death.
Right. Now the scene at the county morgue was absolutely devastating for Kenneth.
Of course.
Kurt had mud on his face, and he looked cold.
Oh, bless him.
He had a bruise on one cheek and several bruises on his shins, but there were no gunshot wounds, knife wounds, needle punctures, or any internal injuries.
So what was his cause of death?
Well, let's get to that. So an autopsy was conducted by the chief deputy coroner. Now, he was unable to determine a cause of death.
Oh, okay.
Now, although the body had some minor scrapes and bruises, there were no clear signs of trauma to suggest foul play.
Okay.
Now, Kurt's blood alcohol level was a 0.11, which is slightly above Ohio's legal definition of drunkenness, which is a .08.
Oh,
so this
okay.
was not enough to actually cause death.
Oh, okay. So
Now,
he hadn't drank that much then.
That's what doesn't make sense.
No.
Okay. Now, at a .11, I mean, it is significant, but if you're drinking Everclear, your blood alcohol level would be much, much higher. Okay. So I started thinking to myself, well, does the blood alcohol content continue to decrease after death? And from what I can tell and what I was able to find, it does decrease, but only about 14%.
I was going to say, yeah, not significantly that much.
It's not.
So what about the other toxicology reports? Is there anything to suggest that there was any kind of narcotics, or is there anything else in his blood?
No. All tests for drugs, I know they tested for cocaine.
Yeah.
They tested for LSD. They all came back as negative.
Okay.
Now, since no one actually witnessed foul play, the death would be ruled as probable accidental.
Yeah. And I can see why. As frustrating it is for the family, I can see why it would be, down as probable accidental. Because if there's no signs of any injury that would cause death, there's no sign of any foul play, even from, just from what you think may have happened. Unfortunately, you can't put that down on an autopsy report as, well, it's very suspicious he could have been murdered, because there's no actual evidence there to push for that
no, you're absolutely
that resolution.
Right. But the one thing that stood out for me was the fact that there were no internal injuries, which to me says he did not die from a fall. He didn't fall into the ravine.
No. Well, he's got no significant head trauma, so it's not like he fell into the ravine and hit his head and then had an episode, following that. There's obviously no drowning, so he didn't drown in the ravine, because otherwise they would have, when they checked the lungs, they would have known that there was water in the lungs. So that rules out drowning. We've got no blunt force trauma, so that rules out anything. There's no, by the sounds of things, there's nothing to do with ligature marks or anything around his neck. It's just a few bruises, which, okay, he's got bruises, but he could have got bruises on his shins from scrambling around because he was drunk, but
he was running into things.
Yeah, that's right.
At the party, right?
That's right.
So if he's running into the coffee table, he's running into,
Okay.
So, and I think most people would probably agree with how we feel, that this sounds like a very tragic accident, right?
Yeah, the other thing I would then think about is, what about the temperature? Has he passed out because he was drunk and then he succumbed to his injuries because it was so cold? Has that happened maybe? That's interesting. That
would explain the blood alcohol level being 0.11.
Yeah.
So if he had been drinking all day, and he had been drinking just prior to him disappearing or vanishing,
he's in a t-shirt, don't forget, he's got no jacket.
He's in a t-shirt. He would have had to have been alive for at least a few hours after his last drink before he died.
So I'm wondering if maybe he's gone somewhere, he's thinking about going home, and he thought, oh, I'm just going to go to sleep here. I've had lots of friends that have done it, male and female, where they've got drunk and they just want to curl up and lie down. So they just want to lie down, but they're that drunk that they don't realize that they're lying on a cold, concrete. And you're like, no, come on, you can't stay there, you can't sleep there. Let's get you up, let's get you home. But obviously, he's got nobody there shunning him along. So I'm wondering if he's trying to go home, but has then just, in his inebriated mind, has then thought, oh, I'm just going to lie down here for a bit. And he's laid down somewhere he shouldn't, or he's got himself into a bit of a pickle and has ended up in this ravine, and he's knocked out, or he's passed out because he's so drunk and cold.
Yeah, this is not scientific at all.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's say hypothetically, he drank a quarter of the 750 milliliter bottle of Everclear, which is 95% alcohol.
Yeah.
It would take him roughly 11 hours to get down to 0.11% blood alcohol.
So that's not happened. That's not true, is it? So that's not what's happened.
No.
Well, I mean, thinking along the hypothermia lines, at a water temperature of 32.5 to 40 degrees, death can occur in 30 to 90 minutes. Okay. So hypothermia, the signals or the signs of hypothermia are things such as shivering, slurred speech and mumbling, a weak pulse, drowsiness, loss of consciousness, confusion, clumsiness, lack of coordination. So obviously he was drunk inside the house, but once he's got out, if he's starting to get hypothermia because it's cold and he's been drinking, it could be that he's then starting to get clumsy, he's confused as well as being drunk. Then I had a look to see with hypothermia in an autopsy, how would the findings of that be? Well, it says that the signs for hypothermia signs in an autopsy would be purple skin, edema to the face and the ears, stomach erosions, degenerative something or other in the myocardium, and high concentrations of, I think it says catecholamines in the urine. So there are tests that they can do to see if it was hypothermia, which I'm sure, given the circumstances, they would have done. Yeah, of course. And I'm sure they would have, I'm sure they do their job properly. I'm sure that given the circumstances that he was found in water and it was cold, I'm sure they would have done tests. They do test the urine anyway. But I know that with some with postmortems here, they do like a drugs test, but they don't test absolutely everything. Which then made me think, I wonder if he's been given something that's accelerated these things, as well as the 90 whatever % proof alcohol that he's drank, even if he hasn't drank that much of it. I wonder, because when people are given GHB, it's something that comes out of your system very fast, but it renders you unconscious very quickly. And I wonder if perhaps something like that has happened, in that when somebody's given GHB, it doesn't always happen straight away. Sometimes it's given in a drink, as a joke, as that kind of thing. And I'm wondering if something like that has happened and the GHB has gone out of the system quickly, but unfortunately he's left the party, and then he's wandering around.
We're told he's left the party.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the guy that says he went back to get his jacket. I mean, everybody's saying that they kicked him out. He was being a nuisance. And that's what makes me think, I wonder if somebody gave him something to calm him down. Or like that guy's being a real pain. Let's give him some of this. It'll be funny. I mean, it's happened before. People have given people things. They're all drinking. They think it's funny. They don't think of the consequences of it. And then, something's happened. But
you're right.
It does make me think, not that I'm pointing fingers at them, but my initial reaction to this would be, he's being such a pain at this party and they're thinking, right, let's get rid of him or let's give him something to calm him down, and something happens. They've already said that they didn't have a party there. So they've already lied once. They've already said that they didn't see him. So they've lied then. So we're talking about two lies straight off. So could something have happened in the house and they've gotten rid of him after the searches have happened?
Yeah.
It's something that you've got to think of. It's got to be a line of inquiry.
No, absolutely right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because there were a few things that happened after Kurt's body was found.
Right.
That would make things seem like possibly something more sinister happened to Kurt than rather just an accident.
Yeah.
So 2 days after the discovery of his body, the manager back at the record shop in Slavic Village that we were talking about, they were given a bouquet of flowers that had been left with a neighboring merchant by the same man who had previously told the owner that Kurt's body would be found. Okay, so the homeless man.
Yeah.
Now there would be a note with the flowers that read, "Roses are red, the sky is blue, they found him dead, and they'll find you too."
What? Okay, so crazy. That's weird.
That is very weird.
Yeah, that's a strange thing to happen. Okay. So this was given to the people, this was given to the guy in the record store, right?
Yeah. So the man had left it with one of the at a neighboring store because the store wasn't open. So when the shop reopened, the the other merchant, gave him the flowers.
So why would that person have a note? He's got no correlation to. He's not got any connection to Kurt, has he?
The man or the merchant?
The merchant that received the flowers.
Oh, no. So he has no connection to it.
So that's a strange. I mean, I could understand if they gave it to one of Kurt's friends or Kurt's parents. You could see that there's a threat there. But it's strange that they've given it to that guy when he's got no correlation. Because if he doesn't know about the murder or about Kurt's death, he'd be like, "What? What are you talking about? Yeah. What is this?"
Well, it was just So it was just handed to. It was given to the other merchant to give to the store manager.
Yeah,
so
it
ended up with the manager of the record store.
Yeah,
who the only connection they would have had was the fact that they had up his picture.
His picture. That's right.
That was it.
Strange.
So very strange. Right?
Yeah.
Now, when the man did return to the store, so when I talk about the man, the homeless man, or the seemingly homeless man returned to the store manager would notify the Cleveland police. And they would dispatch 2 detectives.
Good, because this guy is inserting himself into this on numerous occasions, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah. Now, following an interrogation, the police would clear the man of having any involvement in Kurt's disappearance, citing mental illness as a factor.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now, they would tell the man, or they would tell the store manager, that the man was just some wacko from Detroit.
What?
He was just some wacko from Detroit.
Okay.
Do you remember what I said about when they were talking about the party? They said, there are some people that were here from
Detroit. Yeah.
Which is about 180 miles from Cleveland. So it's not like...
it's not like it's a neighboring town or something.
It is not. It is not a neighboring town.
Okay. And this homeless guy, what age is he? Do we know? Like roughly?
I don't know.
Okay, because it'd be interesting if he's a younger guy. I mean, what would some older, like 50-year-old guy be doing going to a kid's party? But if he's in his 20s, things start to get a little bit more interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, after being interviewed by police, this man would never be seen again. Okay.
Yeah.
And he actually would never be interviewed by Newburgh Heights police.
That's a shame. That's a real shame.
So this guy, even if he has nothing to do with it, I mean, this is very strange behavior.
Yeah, very specific information he's coming out with.
It is. Yeah. And the fact that he said, okay, they're going to find him here in 2 days.
And they're not going to know what happened. Yeah.
He was off by a day, and they're not going to know what happened. And the fact that his story... You remember his story? He was like, okay, we're at the airport and I get to take the shoes off the bodies. The fact that Kurt was barefoot.
Yeah.
Kind of like, that's kind of strange.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. It's a lot of individual things that are very it's a coincidence upon coincidence, isn't it? The fact that he said about this whole shoes thing, he's found barefoot. He said when they're going to find him, they roughly did find him within a couple of days and they don't know what's happened.
Right. It's very weird.
That is really weird. I'd be very angry. I think that the police have lost his details, or haven't identified this man as a specific person, because I think it's too coincidental. The comments are too coincidental.
And I don't like the fact that they cited oh, this guy just had a mental illness.
He's just a wacko.
That would give me pause, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That would give me at least pause. Like, we need to at least keep this guy on our radar.
Definitely.
See what's going on with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, a month after the death of Kurt, an eyewitness had a chance meeting with Kurt Sova on the street. She would tell him that just before Halloween, she was looking out her window from her home on Washington Park Boulevard when she noticed 2 males dragging what appeared to be an unconscious boy toward the ravine where Kurt's body was later found. She stated that one foot was bare, and she believed it was the right foot.
See, why didn't she come forward earlier? Why is this a chance meeting with his dad? Like, that's obviously that happening has obviously stuck in your mind to be what you think would be significant enough to mention it to his father. So why didn't you come forward at the beginning?
Now, yeah, so if she would say that a few days after she saw this, she would learn that Kurt's body was found in that ravine.
Right.
She said that she never told police what she saw because her husband told her, and I quote, that they needed to mind their own business.
See, that is sadly that is something that could quite possibly happen. It is. It is. I mean, yeah, it is. I know personal experience of things like that have happened. So yeah, that is a very plausible explanation. Sadly.
Yeah. Now the Sovas would notify police of this eyewitness, but the eyewitness actually would not be interviewed until 1989 when she was interviewed by Cuyahoga County Sheriff's detectives.
8 years later.
Yes.
Gee, the thing is, it frustrates me. Is if you see something, say something. You know, they've just found the body of this young man, and you've seen two boys or men pulling what looked like an unconscious boy towards where that boy was found dead. Did that not enter your mind as being highly suspicious? It's obviously suspicious enough for you to mention it to his father. I mean, I don't understand. I just don't understand why you don't come forward. I really don't.
There is something about this eyewitness which I believe. This sounds 100% plausible.
It does. Oh, totally. It does. And it sounds plausible that the husband said, look, we don't need this kind of hassle. Let's just mind our own business. But I couldn't personally, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that some mum there, has lost her son possibly. And I possibly saw something that could help the case. I couldn't keep it quiet.
No. Yeah, right. Right. And knowing that this happened right in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
The Sovas are they're mourning the loss of their son. They live a block away from you. Or whatever.
You got to put yourself in their position. How would you feel if that was your child and somebody saw your child being dragged across the and didn't say anything? What the hell? Okay, but it happens. So yeah,
it does happen. Now, this last thing that I'm going to mention about makes this a little crazier, okay?
Okay.
So less than 4 months after Kurt's death, another shocking case occurred that bore a striking resemblance to Kurt's case, okay?
Okay.
In January 1982, 13-year-old Eugene Kevitt would go missing from Newburgh Heights.
Oh, close.
Now, Eugene lived just 1 block north of the Sovas.
Yeah.
And was an acquaintance of Kurt's.
Right. So same circle of friends, roughly.
Yeah. I mean, little age different, but they knew each other because they're in the same neighborhood. Right?
Yeah.
And this is a small community. You're gonna know the other kids in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, on February 1st, 1982, the body of Eugene Kevitt was discovered in a ravine off of Washington Avenue.
Oh.
Just 2.5 miles from where Kurt's body was found.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, Eugene's body was found with his right shoe missing.
Oh, come on. You can't put this down to... You can't put this... I mean, that's very, very similar circumstances.
It is very similar.
What did his autopsy say?
Now, the autopsy findings said that Eugene died from falling into the ravine.
Yeah.
But it's unknown if he fell in accidentally or was pushed or thrown into the ravine.
Right, okay. Interesting.
So this is very similar to what happened with Kurt, right?
Yeah, it is very similar.
And you think about this too, I started thinking about this. He was 2.5 miles away. When you're 13 years old, 2.5 miles is a very far way to be away, right?
Yeah, of course.
You're not just going to be walking 2.5 miles. Even if you're riding your bike 2.5 miles away, it's a long ride.
It is a long way.
So it's how did he get there?
Is he hanging out with older kids, Yeah.
It's very, very possible.
I'm just thinking when I was 13, 14, I would be out with friends and stuff. And I had friends that had older friends, that had cars and stuff. And you wouldn't think twice about getting in a car with them because they're like, cool. They're your friend's friends. So you kind of feel a bit safer because your friends know them. So they're not complete strangers to you. And the whole stranger danger thing doesn't really, because your friends know them. And when you're a kid,
so
you don't
not strangers,
think like that, do you? When you're a teenager, you don't think that any harm's going to come to you, especially not with your friends. And if your friend has got, unless they're like, they're looking like they're trouble, unless it's like gang kind of stuff and they're looking like they're going to give you trouble, you kind of would be trustworthy of friends. You don't want to be the only kid that says, oh no, I'm not getting in that car because you're going to look weak and you're going to look stupid and you're going to get left where you are and everyone else is going to go. So it makes me think with that whole thing, I wonder whether he's trusted somebody. Perhaps he shouldn't. But they're not adults. They're just older kids, They're not grown-ups.
I think that's very possible. Because there's no way. I don't want to say there's no way. When you're 13, when you are not driving yourself or you don't have access to a car, your area that you're going to be in is very small. I mean, you're probably hanging out within 1 mile of your home for the most part.
But
so to be 2.5 miles out,
you could go off. But if it's not normal for you, then chances are something is interjected into that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
So this, it's very interesting. This one, okay. Now, Kurt's case would go dormant for nearly a decade before it would be reopened in 1990 by the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. It would quickly be determined that the initial investigation by Newburgh Heights Police Department was less than stellar.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, okay.
Now, in reviewing the case file from the Newburgh Heights Police, it consisted of one single manila file with 3 or 4 pieces of paper inside and 4 Polaroid pictures.
Unfortunately, back in the 80s, policing, it was very different. Even in the 90s, the difference between the two.
It was.
So early 80s, policing was very, very different. Did they cremate Kurt, or was he buried?
I think he was buried.
Because this is a good thing. Because hopefully, with cold cases being reopened and re-looked at using technology from today, hopefully there is a chance that they can look at things. But I'm thinking they probably didn't save anything if it's that lapse and it's literally just a couple of Polaroid pictures. I would imagine there's not that much evidence to re-go through and re-examine, to be fair.
There isn't.
No.
Even with the Polaroid pictures, the 4 pictures that they found, they were all of Kurt's bodies after it had been loaded
removed
onto a stretcher and about to be placed into the ambulance.
God.
There were no pictures of Kurt's body as it was found in the ravine.
At the scene. Jeez, It's so frustrating, isn't it? It's frustrating for the family, especially now with the technology we've got now, because they look back and think, had we had this then, or had they been better at their jobs then? Because don't get me wrong, it wasn't as good as it is now or as thorough as it is now, but they still even in the 60s and the 50s, they still documented, they still took photos of crime scenes, they still understood what a crime scene was. And so I'm very surprised that they didn't. There's not more, and there's nothing of the actual scene itself. I find that very strange. There wasn't any just a thought. Any of those kids at that party, any of those fathers, law enforcement?
Don't know. We don't know.
See, if I was investigating this case, that would be something I would look at. I would look at who was at that party, who their fathers are, because it seems very strange to me that even in the 80s that they didn't take any crime scene photos. It seems strange. And I'm wondering, okay.
Very strange, yeah.
Okay, so, does the sheriff have a son? Does the sheriff have a daughter? Is there any local police officers that kids were at that party that night? And they know their kids were at that party and involved? I would look at that. No, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I would want to clear that from my mind. That it seems strange that there's not more to this case. There's not more, paperwork.
I have a feeling that even if there was someone at the party who had a father in law enforcement, it would never have even been looked into. I doubt that they even interviewed anyone from that party.
No, and yeah, but what I'm thinking is if the police officer that was on scene or police officers on scene knew of one of the kids that were involved in this or had kids at that party, are thinking, shit, our kids are involved. This is going to be bad.
Yep.
Okay, let's just deal with this. Let's just bring the body in. Then let's do, the people do panic and parents do try and save their kids in situations like this. So I'm not saying that is what's happened, but I would say that's something, if I was an investigator, I would want to clear that. I would want to know who was at that party. I'd want to know, but I would have done that at the time. Obviously coming into it late and going back as a cold case, you're not going to be able to find out who was at that party.
Yep. Now, it would also be determined that no forensic specialists were called to the crime scene.
Jesus.
And asked why, the Newburgh Heights police chief would state that being a small police department, that they had no forensic specialists.
I can understand that.
But this is no excuse.
No, it's not.
They would have had the opportunity to request that the Cleveland Police Department send a specialist to the scene to assist. Now, of course, this never happened. And in fact, the Newburgh Heights Police Department rejected an offer of help from Cleveland Police immediately after the body was found.
And Nestle, that's very, very interesting. That's suspicious.
Yeah.
Because normally, when you've got a small police department, they're not used to dealing with things such as a murder. And so then they draft in the closest biggest police department. But if you've got a police department offering their help and you're rejecting it, why? Like, why? Who rejected
you have something
it?
To hide.
Exactly. Who rejected it and why? Because there's a reason. There's a reason you're rejecting that. And that's making me think that there is something there that they don't want people to know, which is worrying in itself.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, it was also determined that the Newburgh Heights police never attempted to obtain a search warrant for the duplex where Kurt was last seen. When asked why a search warrant was never requested for the Harvard Avenue duplex, once again, the Newburgh Heights police chief stated that there was no reason to search it.
What? That's the last place he was seen alive with people there. They should know. That's rubbish. As soon as that body was found and they found out that he had been at that party, they should have been there. They should have been there speaking to the person that was hosting the party, and they should be there asking for as many people as they could remember was at that party. That should have been done the night he was found, or like in the days after he was found. Yeah, I'd be very interested to speak to this police chief. I'd be very, very interested to see.
They have absolutely no interest in investigating this at all.
You know why? Because they're looking at this is just a drunk guy that's just died. Because the autopsy has come back with there's nothing to say that this was foul play. They've just gone, okay, yep. It was just an accident. That's it. He's just succumbed to it. He's just succumbed to the weather or whatever, and he's died. It was an accident. No more paperwork for us. Let's stamp that and put it in the solved. Yeah. It's less paperwork.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you won't be shocked that this Newburgh Heights Police Department did come under a lot of scrutiny, even before this and even after this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I know that shortly after this, the FBI actually began looking into Kurt's case as well as the Newburgh Heights Police Department.
Right.
One of the reasons was there was a police officer who had been charged with brutally beating 5 crime suspects. One of them was a guy by the name of Eric Kotansky, who had been arrested on suspicion of drunk driving. Now, this guy ended up getting beaten when he refused to surrender his keys to a police officer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then, after he was hit in the head with a flashlight, he would be driven to the parking lot located behind the J.L. Goodman Furniture Warehouse.
Interesting.
Where he was beaten up.
Okay, so this police department has police officers there that are less than honest and less than credible. by the sounds of things.
Yes.
I hate police bashing because they do, most police officers do join up with a hope to help people, So I hate it when there's rogue ones. But we're talking about the 80s. Things were done very, very differently back then. The protocols were, things were done that people turned a blind eye to that now you would never get away with. So you've got to look at it. We can't look at it with today's policing standards in mind because they didn't have today's policing standards. So we've got to look at this with a 1980s pair of eyes. And I'm sure a lot went on that was just, you turn your head away and you don't say a thing.
Yep. Now this police officer who was being investigated ended up, he got fired, but he was also convicted on 76 counts of aggravated drug trafficking and illegal possession of drug documents.
So he's a less than stellar officer.
He is absolutely less than stellar.
Yeah. Okay. So this is not giving me much hope for this investigation. That poor family. I mean, what do you do if the investigators do a shit job and don't take down the necessary things?
It's a farce. Shit job.
It's a complete farce, and so they don't.
It is.
They're not actually going to be able to act on any of that because they didn't take any of it. So
there was zero policing done in this case.
Yeah,
zero.
You can't say that there was any policing exactly done. There's definitely no investigation.
Mm-hmm.
What a shame! How awful!
It is absolutely a shame. My feeling on this case is, I don't think that this was a murder in the sense of someone went out and murdered this boy and then threw him in the ravine. To me, what it sounds like is that this started out as being a accidental death, right? Probably due to excessive alcohol. But I feel like there was a cover-up in the death. I don't think he died in that ravine.
No.
I have a feeling that's the woman that said, I saw, two men dragging a body into the ravine. I see that as happening. I think Kurt was in the basement of that house. But he was removed.
Yeah.
Earlier in the day,
they didn't find him
and
dead.
Brought to that location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before they had before or after they had searched that place already.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, because we go back to the whole incident where the residents were lying about having a party.
Yeah.
Because if you're hosting a party and someone dies at your party, you become liable for that death.
Of course.
Especially if that person is under the age of
and they're kids.
Under the age of
They've
legal
panicked.
Drinking age, right?
Yeah.
They panicked. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. The thing that throws a slight spanner in the works for me is that seemingly homeless guy. And the shoes, the whole talking about the shoes and the fact that he was found shoeless, and that is strange. I wonder if this homeless guy, was he at the party? Did he witness something? Was he around the area and witnessed them taking him out? Then he took his shoes off of him when they saw him in the river. Maybe didn't realize he was dead, but then took his shoes off of him because the guy's not going to fight and he's got a nice pair of shoes out of it, So I'm inclined to look at the little stuff that we've got, to say the same as what you've said. He died at the party and they've moved him due to panic. And thought, well, if he's found in the ravine, then nobody's to blame, kind of thing.
But then, what do we do with this whole Uveen Kevitz situation, right?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Is it just a crazy coincidence? Yeah. I mean,
it could
possible.
be. That's right. It's possible. Unlikely, but possible. You've got to look at the two cases. They're less than 5 miles between the two bodies being found. Exactly. So you've got.
They both are found with no shoes on.
Yeah.
They're both found in ravines off of Harvard Avenue.
That's exactly.
What are the chances?
Exactly.
And they're from the same neighborhood. They live a block away. What are the chances?
Yeah. What are the chances of that? Yeah. If I were the parents of those two boys, I'd have my head together, and I'd be going through everything that I could, everything that we could on this case, and I'd be making some noise about it because something's not right. Both those boys just didn't pass out and die in ravines. Where are their shoes?
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
I can understand them losing one of them, losing a shoe, but not both of them
Mm-hmm.
being. And the man saying about the shoes going, it's all too much of a coincidence. I think personally, I definitely think that this needs investigating a hell of a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for the family because you're supposed to trust the investigation process. You're supposed to trust that those in that profession are there to do their job and do their job to the best that they can. And the families have been failed 100% in that. And the problem is with that is once they've been failed, there's no coming back from it. There's no second chance. There's no secondary look at that body. There's no, let's go back and take more photos. Let's look at the photos, because there aren't any. So these families they're in complete despair as to what's happened to their child, but two, they're being failed left, right, and centre by every professional force there.
Yeah.
Which is just
right.
awful.
You're right. Now, as of today, both the family and law enforcement that have been looking into the case, they both believe that someone who knew the area had dumped his body in the ravine.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. I think that the main reason is the fact that that area had been searched multiple times by numerous people, and he wasn't there. The other thing I found interesting that I did notice is actually the Attorney General in the state of Ohio actually has this case listed as a homicide.
Good. At least unexplained death, at least.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
At least it has to be listed as an unexplained death, at least. So I'm glad that he's got it as a homicide.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, to start with, you kind of think that, okay, he's got drunk, he's on his way home, he's fallen in the ravine and he's died. Then you get the autopsy reports. Okay, he's not got any blunt force trauma, but it was freezing cold. He's got no internal injuries. He's got no signs of foul play. Okay, maybe he's taken something that's reacted wrong and he's died. But there usually is a cause of death. There's a reason he died. He didn't just die for no reason. Even if it was like sudden adult death syndrome, he died of something. So
something, yes.
Something has led to his death. And so it definitely needs to be at least an accidental death. I'm glad that they've got it listed as a homicide at least, because even if they're wrong and it was an accidental death, the rest of it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, this one was very interesting, and it's just so
frustrating, isn't it?
Very frustrating and strange. There's a lot of strange things involving this case.
Yeah, and hard for police
unfortunately,
now.
Very hard, because you have a police force that completely hindered. I don't want to say hindered the investigation, because there was no investigation.
No, and now
they hindered future investigation.
That's right, and now you've got police officers that are diligently doing their job with not a lot to go on, that are trying their best for the family, and they've not got a lot to work with, have they?
The thing is like, if this was an accident and accidental death where he died from alcohol poisoning or whatnot, and even if he was taken from the residence and left in the ravine, I don't understand why over 40 years later, someone at that party hasn't come forward like, this is what happened.
Yeah, because allegiances change over time, don't they? So I'm surprised that nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Unless nobody knew. Unless it's a tight-knit, 2 people or 3 people. Unless something happened between 2 or 3 people and it's just the 3 of them that know about it.
Right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully one day, family will get answers. I believe both Dorothy and Ken have passed away, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, that's
the brothers are still alive,
shame.
So they're still family. The brothers are still there, and
how awful
they
for them.
They deserve answers.
Yeah, of course they do. It's a shadow that will be over your family forever, wondering why, wondering what happened. You just want to know what happened. It's not going to bring him back, but at least it gives you an answer. It gives you a reason.
Right, yeah.
They've got nothing, and that's That's a horrible thing to have to live with.
Absolutely.
Oh, bless him.
So that is our case for this week.
Thank you. That was a very interesting, very sad, very interesting case to look at. I really hope that the police that are looking into it now will find something that will give the family, maybe not a full resolution, but at least something,
Yeah.
Bless him.
So, and this is one of the cases where it's like, all it takes is one person to just come forward and say, this is what happened. This is what we know.
I mean, because if that woman didn't come forward for quite a long time because her husband said not to, I mean, what if there's somebody else out there that's in exactly the same situation that's got a really vital piece of information that doesn't want to come forward because they don't want to be associated with it or they don't want to be a grass or,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I always say, if you can't do it with your own name, anonymously do it. Get the information there. You don't have to give your name. Yeah. Write a letter, mail it, email under a fake email address or in an internet cafe if you don't want your IP address, looked at. Just send the info in at least so that police have got something.
Even if you think it's just a small piece or, inconsequential.
Yeah.
It could end up being a huge.
Yeah.
Every little piece of information is important.
Definitely. And it means a lot to that family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you for that case. So at the end of our episodes, what we usually do, if you are a weekly listener, is we go and we will try and lighten the mood slightly by talking about a dumb criminal.
Hey, criminal, use a dummy.
Okay, this is a very strange one. So there were two burglars burglarizing or burgling a apartment. Okay, they were disturbed by police. And so thought like, oh my God, police are coming. They jumped out of the window with a stash of jewelry from that place. Okay. So soon after this burglary, the police picked up two men who were acting suspiciously. While they were in custody, one of the men became really, really ill. So he was transported to hospital because he needed hospital treatment. They did x-rays on him and showed that the problem with his illness was that he had swallowed the jewelry that he had stolen.
Why?
Okay, so this is going to definitely, dob you in, because the stolen jewelry is in your guts. How else did it get there if you weren't at the scene? No. So the x-ray showed up 2 rings, a pendant, and a necklace that he had swallowed. So he had to have emergency surgery because he was going to die from this burglary. Okay.
Oh, no.
So the apartment owner came to the hospital, identified all of the stuff that was there, and the burglars were then, charged. Sent to prison.
Why did he swallow it? This isn't Goonies.
But why would you?
You don't swallow jewels.
No. I mean, what a thing to do. You panic. You just throw it. You don't. Then you could say, I didn't put it there. I didn't, it's nothing to do with me. You don't swallow it. I mean, come on. What did he think was going to happen? He was just going to poo it all out.
Yeah, you got to wait. You got to go through all your poo until you find these rings.
That's sick.
Get out of here.
That's just crazy.
No ring is worth that much.
No.
Oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a really fancy ring, but
still, I wouldn't want to be rifling through that to get it.
First off, it was an apartment that they were breaking into. It's not like it was a multi-million-dollar mansion.
That's right. Yeah.
Come on.
I know, but what?
It's probably costume jewelry too.
Yeah, it's probably not even worth that much, and you've just swallowed it. But then, if I was the apartment owner, I don't think I'd want it back. I'd be like, man, if you want it that bad, keep it.
Good, man.
I don't want it after it's been in your intestines. Thank you.
Could you imagine if he was like, oh yeah, you got that ring? Yeah, I got it out of a little vending machine. Cost me $1.
Yeah. Or like you see someone, you go, that's a really nice ring. Yeah. It was once in a burglary and like ended up in the stomach of the guy that stole it. I'd be like, ugh, that's weird.
No, thank you.
I know. So how dumb was that?
You.
You're just burglarizing a house and you end up in the hospital having your guts cut open because you were stupid enough to swallow what you stole.
I mean, you would have had a better chance of getting away if you didn't swallow that. I mean, you had already gone away.
Yeah.
I mean, chances are they would have found you eventually.
Yeah. But if it's not in your possession, they can't prove anything.
Yeah.
So they can when it's in your stomach.
But if it is in possession possession in your stomach, yeah.
Yeah. What an idiot.
Oh my God.
His friend that was with him must have been like, you absolute loon. What the hell were you thinking? I'm not burglaring. I'm not going to burgle anyone else with you, you idiot. God, you need a new criminal friend. So that is this week's dumb criminal. So we've got some exciting stuff to talk to you about. Obviously, as you know, in June we are all going to be going to CrimeCon UK, the Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th of June 2023, and this year I think is going to be the best year so far of CrimeCon. There's so many exciting things they've built on this every single year. I mean, we've got true crime YouTubers, there's podcasters, there's more than there's more than 30 content creators that are going to be at this year's CrimeCon. Okay, we've got big known cases, we've got unsolved cases, we've got cases that you won't even have heard of. We've got it's sponsored by CBS, and CBS Reality. They do an examination of a lot of British cases in like docu-series and true crime series. They did Murder by the Sea. They also did Donald McIntyre's Release to Kill, The Real Prime Suspect with there's just so much. There's some fantastic speakers this year. There's some really, really fascinating stage presences this year that I think we're going to end up at.
And they have over 50 hours of content.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have.
Yeah,
that's a ton of stuff to do.
And also, I know that there is a lot of people that have come to CrimeCon on their own because they're a true crime enthusiast or they're very interested in it and made really good friends. And since the first one, they've now come together. So a lot of the time, I mean, usually as soon as the day's content is over, you can find us in the bar. So you can book to stay over. That would be my advice to you, is book to stay, because you will find speakers, YouTubers and podcasters up until 4 or 5 in the morning at the bar. And there are some very interesting conversations to be had. And you will you'll have a great time. So definitely stay. We're staying. Most of the podcasters will be there. Most of the speakers are there. So it's just breakfast is normally a quiet affair.
It's very quiet.
It usually is. But it's brilliant. I can't recommend it enough to you. And if you want to get yourself some money off of your ticket, because who doesn't love a bargain, you can use the code CRIMEpedia when you get to the payment section, and it will give you a 10% discount off of your ticket price as well. So there's no reason not to go. And you're coming all the way from America to be at CrimeCon this year. So if you can come all the way from America, other people can come from England and Scotland and Wales and Ireland.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't tell me that Newcastle's too far, or Dorchester, or let's name place Leicester,
Cornwall,
or Cornwall.
Yeah.
Or even as far away as Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. It's not as far as coming from Columbus, Ohio.
That's right.
So there's no excuse. Right. So yes, definitely get yourself a ticket. You're going to love it. We love it. It's great fun. There's a lot going on this year, more than ever before. And some of the things that are lined up for you guys to take part in and to watch is just brilliant. It's a must for any true crime enthusiast.
Absolutely.
And that's it for us this week. I look forward to seeing you. It's not long, a couple of months, and you'll be here.
I will.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, exciting. So yes, if you want to come back next week, we will be back next week with another episode. It'll be my episode next week. So for now, be nice.
And bye.